Hi there.
Hi, how are you, Zach?
I'm doing good. I just watched your movie yesterday.
No. Oh God, what do you think?
Oh boy, let me tell you. No, it was hilarious. Oh my gosh.
Oh
I
man.
love Sam. I got to talk to him. He was one of my first interviews actually 2 years ago when he was doing Champagne Ill on
Mm,
YouTube, which that whole network, the YouTube network shut down, and that's such a shame because that was so funny.
I know, so funny.
But enough about YouTube, whatever, who cares? This is going to
Who
be
needs it?
but so tell me about coming onto this project. Like, who brought you on board? Was there already like a skeleton there with like Sam and Mishna? Like, was there a movie there already, or were they like, we've got an idea, help?
There was already a script. So Mishna Wolf had developed the script through Ubisoft's Women's Film and Television Fellowship. And I came aboard, read the script, and realized, holy crap, this is a whole lot like Fargo and The Thing and Hot Fuzz. I got to throw my hat in the ring.
Cool. Like, what? So there was already a script. What did you do to make it a Josh Ruben joint?
Well, when I pitched on it, I made a bunch of suggestions for how I would just make it funnier, maybe more reverent, just lean into what was already there, what was already great. In my director's deck, which I used to pitch on the film, which I projected onto the screen at the offices at Ubisoft when I pitched on the gig, I literally showed examples of pages where I take Mishna's script and then tighten it up a bit or add sort of a funny line or a visual joke, and show these guys what my writing sensibility, my comedic sensibility is. So I knew what the kind of the director's polish would be, what that rewrite would be. And then everything else becomes, the visual style and the editing style of the piece to make it as, as fun and fast and dreadful as it needs to be.
It does have like a very unique visual style. I love those like really quick cuts that you've got to punctuate a joke or even make it scarier. Real excitement. Okay, so I'm thinking about, like, you've got some of my favorite human beings in this movie, like Michaela and Sarah, and of course Sam, and just knowing their previous work. Like, is there a struggle as a director with knowing when to just like let them cut loose and keep the camera rolling, and when to go like, come on guys, just say the lines?
Oh, that's a great question. I mean, well, yeah, you can get to that point. They're all geniuses. They're all great at what they do, and they're on these lists. Whether Gail Keller's list or my list of people that I want to be a part of. X project for a reason. Comedically deft and proficiently deft and the like. Yeah, I mean, it was a fast shoot, so you want to be communicative with your cast and with your crew to say, like, there are going to be times we're going to be rushing. So if you want something extra, you're going to have to tell me. Otherwise, when I'm happy, we will have the edit. We will have this. We will have what we need to make this a good movie. So stop me if I'm going too fast. But you can kind of prevent the whiplash of that with communication, which you want to do on every project. But with this one, the communication was built largely around how fast we had to move with our limited budget and our limited means, Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess it also helps that a lot of the movie is set in that big living room area in the cabin, which is so, gorgeous. I imagine that was like, as far as pre-production goes, was that something that you were like, we have to nail this because so much of the movie is here. If anything is out of place, we're stuck with it. You can't shoot around it. Or maybe you can.
Yeah, I mean, you want to make sure you're as covered as possible. We didn't do research on this film because we really, frankly, couldn't afford to. So everything, we got in the moment, was sort of like, have we gotten everything we possibly could? Getting, some extra reactions, some Agatha Christie-esque, glances and eyebrow raises and the like. You got to make sure you got plenty of that. But it's prep, man. You know, I'm not one actor or rather one director to walk onto a set and say, we'll figure it out. You know, we'll figure it out today. It's like, no, I walk on, I've done my work. I don't want to waste anybody's time, because as an actor too, I don't like to waste my time, and certainly anybody else's time, and prep is everything. I'm a terrible test taker, but I'm a pretty good studier with this stuff. So it paid off, I think.
So you had to act fast. So I assume there's not miles of film or hard drives that are full of alternate takes and stuff, because you had to get in, get what you needed, get out, move on to the next setup. But like, you know, was there anyone who surprised you? Because I imagine that you're with these people in the same room for so long. Again, it's not a big studio movie, so no one's going into their big trailers in between takes. Yeah. Or maybe they are. I don't know. None of my business.
No, we certainly couldn't afford any trailers. You know, it's a small film, so the actors really retreated to these kind of side rooms as their kind of green rooms, you know, the actual rooms at the inn. I mean, the surprise was that they all got along. The surprise is that the actors loved each other, that these actors were so supportive of one another, that they wanted to read lines off camera with one another, that they made each other laugh and wanted to hang out after they wrapped, that it did have that kind of summer camp feel that now some film sets are sort of missing with the pandemic of it all, that hopefully will kind of roar back in its community. But I think Rebecca Henderson, you know, got a bit of the shaft with our schedule because, you know, Dr. Ellis was sequestered. So she was by no means an afterthought, but we would sort of find ourselves with like, okay, now we've made it to the end of the day. We have Rebecca in this room sort of, you know, losing her mind. Rebecca was so professional and so fast and so proficient and dealt with so much of like our shit, my shit, so quickly and so professionally. I couldn't get over it. She surprised me, you know, eons, just with how fast she was able to work and how everything was quality. So funny and so scary and chilling and moving. Yeah, sure. That was a big one. That was a standout for me, I think.
I want to go back a second, just because I'm thinking about like that summer camp vibe that you mentioned, and how, you know, the one-upmanship and kind of like, you know, rivalry and that sort of thing is so small time, that once you reach not even a terribly high plateau, but just a little bit, you're much more interested in lifting each other up as opposed to trying to put each other down.
Yeah. You know, I had just worked with Kevin Bacon on a podcast for Spotify and Funny or Die before I did Werewolves. And I was asking him a little bit of advice, you know, for helming a big cast with a bunch of egos. And he goes, honestly, man, so much of it comes from you. So much of it comes from the director. It's like, if you're a dick, if you're like a, you know, kind of a frigid personality, it's going to rub off and have a waterfall effect in the entire production. And I wouldn't have it any other way to make it feel like summer camp. You got to make it a joy for people to come to work every day. You got to be respectful to people, shake your crew's hands, and listen equally to your grip gaffer and AC as you would, you know, Sam and Milana and George. You know, so I'm going to keep doing that. That's just going to be a keep of my kind of MO. Hopefully long gone are the days of the, you know, frigid, shitty filmmaker, you know, who wants to be the auteur. This is a collaboration. There's no other way to do it than with the assistance of your team. It's a team effort.
Sure. Actually, if we can take a second about the last degree of Kevin Bacon, right? Was that all in person or on Zoom, or
that was in person? Yeah, we recorded that in Burbank in California at Mark Grouse Studios. Matt Walsh, Kevin Bacon, Michaela Watkins. That was the first time I worked with Michaela. I'd met her, but it was a cool opportunity for me to bring in like all of my kind of best friends, you know, from comedians like Jason Signs to, you know, Dreama Walker McMahon and you know, best buddies and you know, Natalie Morales, just to get folks to come and say, hey, do you want to, you know, quickly, like, you know, work on this thing? Yeah. But like meet Kevin Bacon, you know, like work with Matt Walsh. That was really, really fun to do, to be able to like, you know, get buds aboard. And also I met and directed Rob Reiner and Terry Gross. Like I was like, holy crap.
Like, do you set aside in your schedule, in your planner, just ask All in the Family questions?
No, I didn't. It was hard for me not to ask Misery and Princess Bride questions. I mean, my God, there is a director who can hop genres like nobody's business. Might be terribly underrated.
Totally.
Rob Reiner. I mean, holy mackerel, what he can do. So deftly between genres. But yeah, that was intimidating to say the least. But he was so wonderful to work with and so funny and in and out.
All right, so back to Werewolves. Did you have like a I don't know, oversight of like someone being, this is too scary, this isn't scary enough? How funny can you be? How raunchy and sassy can you be? I know there was a script already, but like, tell me a little bit about the batting the ball back and forth with Ubisoft.
It's tricky, because you do reach that point as a filmmaker and even with your editor too, where you're like, oh, is this funny? Is this scary? I've watched it 600 times.
You're too close.
Yeah, you're too close. We get too close to it. So there's that wonderful experience of testing it, test audiencing it, and sending people links like the way we do it with set links and then got on Zoom after the fact once the thing had timed out. Yeah, it was a process. What I've learned since Scare Me, especially for my first one, a big lesson is that a film is an organism. It's a living, breathing thing that like needs time to breathe. It needs time for you to kind of take a step back and look at it. It's like writing a script. It changes on the daily, and you're never done. I look at Scare Me now, and I'm like, oh my God, there's 10 minutes of fat I would cut out like that, especially after working on Werewolves, where everything was about trimming. But it kind of is what it is. At some point, you give yourself over to it and just kind of like, in all of its flaws and also its glory, it all kind of becomes the same organism, and you just gotta love it like any human being, any friend in your life.
Sure. I mean, speaking of Scare Me, Chris Redd, just
genius,
has been a legend the entire time. I'm so glad he's getting attention on Kenan, because like we've known that he's like the funniest guy in the world for like 10 years.
Yeah, he's like so brilliant to work with, like fast, collaborative, sweet. I'm dying to work with him again.
Okay, so you've done these two movies. This is your second feature, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you ready for like, someone give me $150 million and a superhero license? Or like, what do you want to do?
No, I love what the Coen brothers talk about budgets. They're like, $50 million is a lot of money. I don't need $50 million, and maybe never. So if I can level up to 20, or I can level up to a number that just like tells the story best, I'll level up to it. But I think the priority for the next go is to stay in the genre, is to stay in horror comedy, see how much more horror I can elicit, how much more kind of dread I can elicit, but let's see how much, heart I can imbue. I love Poltergeist. I love that story. The fact that it can, oscillate between, horror and humor, and heart so beautifully well, and be so aesthetically pleasing. I'm excited to just kind of lean into what we've already done.
Sure. Well, whatever you do, I hope I get to talk to you about that too. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure and a treat to get to talk to you, and I hope to catch you on the next one.
Same, Zach, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.